Welcome to part 2 of this Football Manager 2018 experiment, where we're having a look at a World Cup database consisting of 225 nations. They're competing over an entire season. It's a long World Cup for the chance to become world champions. If you missed part 1, please go and check that out first so you know what this is all about. But essentially in this part 2, I'm going to simulate the same World Cup once again to see if we have a different outcome, see if we have some surprises in there, any nations that just completely collapse. We did have some big names getting defeated in earlier rounds of the competition in part 1, so perhaps we'll have the same in this part 2. So I have holidayed till the end of this second simulation. As you can see, I've put a black box over the World Cup winners once again, so we can go through from the first round and investigate in a bit more detail. It is the same groups, but we might see some differences in there. We're likely to see, well, Bhutan, for example, finishing bottom once again. They managed to pick up 1 point, but had a minus 77 goal difference from those 14 games. It hasn't really gone to plan. It would have been amazing if someone like Gibraltar could qualify. India have managed to qualify again just about from Group A, 1 point ahead of Barbados. Algeria topped the group though. That's a bit of a surprise. And they actually went, well, they won every single game. I don't think we saw that in the first round in part 1. But as you can see in part 2, we've seen Algeria win every single game and Belgium win every single game from Group A and B. Impressive records for both of them. Let's just have a quick look at poor old Bhutan again, because you know it's a bit horrid, isn't it? They lost 11-0 against Venezuela and 14-0 against Algeria. However, they did score a goal against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Their only goal of the World Cup, scored by this man, Pema Rinchen, legend. It's a centre back, and he's a famous man in Bhutan after scoring that World Cup goal, I'm sure. Oh dear, poor old them. In Group B, of course, Belgium, like I said, champions of Group B, winning all 14 games. We won't look at the fixtures of the teams going through because that'll give away how far they got in the competition. But we can have a look at some of the nations that struggled. Mayotte, for example, who lost every single game apart from getting a 1-1 draw against Dominica. The man that scored the goal was this chap, Mara Nimabona. You're going to see some very average players. Some of these will be greyed out players who aren't actually real because certain nations, certain island nations in particular, and the lower ranked nations won't have actual players or not enough players to actually make up a squad. So I think these are fake greyed out players. And maybe the manager is as well. He's probably not a real person either. But like I said in part 1, I have loaded every single nation. But some nations just won't have enough players. Group C then. This is this is a tough group because we've got Spain and Italy in there, which makes it very difficult for the likes of Tonga. Minus 70 goal difference. They probably conceded a lot of goals against Italy and Spain. Let's be honest, let's have a quick look. They lost 11-0 against Iraq, but only 9-0 against Italy and only 5-0 against Spain. That is very impressive. Their biggest defeat was actually against Iraq and Guinea. So that's not bad going at all. They scored a couple goals as well throughout. They lost 3-2 in the first game against Reunion, the island where Dimitri Payet was born. This chap scored a penalty. These aren't real players. Do they have any real players? I don't think they do. Doesn't seem to have loaded any real players this time around. Moving down to Group D then, we saw Portugal topped the group ahead of Scotland, who comfortably went through this time. They struggled last time. They did go through. British Virgin Islands, they lost every single game. Minus 70 goal difference. This time Wallace and Futuna don't finish bottom of the group. So well done to them. Instead it was the British Virgin Islands that finished bottom. They lost 12-0 against Portugal. They did score against Fiji. Kevin Fisher with the goal. He's actually got decent finishing. 12. He's not a bad player actually, looking at him. They lost 13-1 against Uzbekistan. That's actually the team they conceded the most goals against, but they did actually score a goal thanks to Samuel. There's a few players in this team that have some decent attributes. I'm surprised they actually finished bottom, actually. Moving on down then to Group E, which was won by Holland comfortably this time, finishing above Israel and Mexico, also going through. Lithuania miss out. They finished below Chad. Excellent stuff from Chad to go through. Qatar also finished above Costa Rica and Ireland. A little bit embarrassing for those two nations to finish below Qatar, I think. Cayman Islands, bottom of the group. They picked up 2 draws, minus 62 goal difference though. They did score 8 goals, which was more than Pakistan managed. In Group F, Uruguay won the group ahead of Cyprus. with Mali, Colombia, Czech Republic, Latvia, Guadeloupe and Sudan also going through just ahead of Luxembourg. 1 point ahead of Luxembourg in the end. El Salvador, who I think went to like the third round in the last part, they actually crashed out in the first round. So we have seen a few differences here. They're not every single team is qualifying that qualified last time. And this, I don't know, is it Macau or Macau? They actually managed to pick up a point this time. They got 0 points, I think, in the last part, but they managed a 0-0 draw against Mauritius. Well done to them. They scored a few goals as well. Scored against Latvia, Carlos Lionel and Tambu Crew with the goals. So well done to them for that. That's something to be proud of. France topped Group G. This is a bit of a group of death, really, because you've got France, Germany and Argentina in there. But because 8 teams are qualifying, it doesn't really matter, because France, Germany and Argentina are always going to go through as one. 3 of those 8 teams, obviously. Cook Islands, only 1 point. That's, I think, the lowest goal difference again, just like we saw in the last part. Poor old Cook Islands have a leaky defence, I'm afraid. They did get a 3-3 draw against Seychelles, so they know how to score goals, but they lost 18-0 against Germany. 18-0. Werner scored, well, a lot of goals, a double hat-trick, I think. Miller got 4 as well. Poor old Cook Island. That's just bullying, isn't it? 9-1 defeat against Argentina. Didn't they lose like 18-0 against Argentina in part 1, and Aguero got a triple hat-trick or something ridiculous. In Group H, Ecuador, Bosnia, Kosovo, Egypt, Guinea-Bissau, Bolivia, Liberia and New Zealand went through just ahead of Benin. Palestine a bit unlucky as well. East Timor finished bottom of the table, although US Virgin Islands had the worst goal difference with a -50. England topped Group I. It's quite an easy group for them, but didn't they finish below Finland last time out? But this time around they only dropped points in 1 game. Good performance from them. Tuvalu, 1 point, but it wasn't the worst goal difference in the group, so they can be proud of that, I suppose. Not really. Group J, Greece topped Group J with Tunisia, Wales, Georgia, Gabon, Iceland, Zambia and Martinique going through. Paraguay have missed out. That is a shock. That really is a shock, isn't it? Paraguay, how have they missed out? That's dreadful from them. They're a good team and they've somehow missed out on qualifying from the first round. That is pretty poor. They lost 5-2 against Tunisia, 1-0 against Gabon, 2-1 against Georgia. Not great from Paraguay. That is the biggest shock we've seen so far. Poland, USA and Japan went through from Group K quite comfortably. Hungary did go out through this time. It was a shock last time because they actually missed out. But this time the shock is Romania didn't qualify. That really is. That is a shock because Romania should be getting through from that group quite comfortably. Samoa with a -81 goal difference only managed to get 1 draw, which was a 0-0 draw against Somalia. They only scored 2 goals as well. One against Faroe Islands? Yeah, one against Faroe Islands, one against Ivory Coast from an 18-year-old called Tim Hulterson. But yeah, shocking stuff from Samoa. Predictable though, they're one of the lowest ranked nations in the world, so to be fair, that's what's expected of them. Where am I? Okay, Panama. Oh, this time it's different. Didn't Panama fail to qualify last time from the first round or the second round? I think it was the first round. I think they failed to qualify. This time they've topped the group and they finished ahead of Chile and Ghana and Slovakia and Albania. That is quite magnificent actually from them, considering how bad they were in the first simulation. It just shows from different saves you can have different things happening, can't you? It's not always just nailed on in Football Manager. There's a bit of unpredictability about it, just like real life. We've seen shocks in the real World Cup. Brazil finished ahead of Nigeria, so Brazil did top this group. Australia and Austria went through as well. Papua New Guinea just missed out, 1 point behind Dominican Republic. David Brown, where is he? Is David Brown here? Where's our man David Brown from our other experiment? He's not there, which is a shame because he was a legend in the worst 32 nations in the world experiment. Going down then to Group N, which was won by Serbia. Switzerland went through. Denmark, Norway did very well in the last one, didn't they? Liechtenstein miss out by 4 points behind Kenya. And the last group, is it the last group? What is going? It keeps scrolling up randomly. The last group was won by Sweden, with Peru finishing second. no shocks there. Curacao managed to get through again, and Haiti do very well once again as well. So well done to them. So in this second round, it's been reduced slightly. The numbers have gone down. We do have some other rules in there, and that the best 7th and 8th place teams, I think, can qualify in certain groups. But with Group A, wow, this is a real group of death. We've got France, Brazil, England, Colombia. Well, probably the best teams there did go through. Ghana pretty unlucky not to go through. I'm not entirely sure if it's head-to-head or goal difference. Some of the groups, I think the rules vary. The chap that made this, by the way, if you want this database, the link is in the first video in the description, so go and check that out, and you can play on this yourself. Finland miss out. South Africa bottom of the group. From Group B, Italy managed to win the group. They didn't lose a single game, nor did Russia actually, with 15 points. Honduras, Guinea, Haiti and Bahrain miss out. Not a great defence from Bahrain by the looks of it, but Mozambique sneak through to the third round. Spain topped Group C. They only lost one game, with Peru going through. Canada have done very well to get through. I mean, it's interesting, the groups, like Group A, a real group of death there. France, Brazil, Colombia, England, Mexico, Serbia. You could see Ghana and Finland going through in other groups. In other groups, there's a real lack of quality. I must say, Zimbabwe finished third. So that kind of shows the quality of that group compared to others. Group D, Morocco, top of the group, with Senegal second. Norway miss out by 1 point, just below Wales. So this is quite a tough group as well. Northern Ireland, bottom of the group. So that is a tough group, actually. If those nations were in some of these other groups, I think all of them would be able to go through quite easily. Going down to Argentina's group then. I've gone too far. There we are. 21 points from them. They didn't lose a single game going through with Egypt and South Korea. Curacao go through to the third round, which is pleasing to see. Madagascar, Tanzania and Cuba miss out. Bolivia go through as one of the best 7th place teams, I do believe. Group F, Croatia top the group. Panama doing exceptionally well, going through in second place. Ecuador failing to qualify, finishing 9th in their group. St Kitts and Nevis did really well to go through, actually, from the first round, but unfortunately they failed in the second round. They conceded 32 goals, not a great defence from them. They did get draws against Venezuela and Syria, but they lost 6-0 against Denmark and 6-0 against Croatia, which obviously didn't help their plight. Group G was won by Montenegro, who finished ahead of Germany. Germany was unbeaten, but Montenegro finished ahead by 1 point, with Kenya, Myanmar and Kosovo getting knocked out. Myanmar conceded 30 goals, but they still finished above Kosovo. I presume that must be on head-to-head then, because their goal differences are a lot worse. Group H, Portugal went through, marching through 8 wins and a draw to finish top of the group. India just about miss out. Oh, imagine if India had finished ahead of Japan. That would have been a story and a half. They did quite well, actually, to get to this point. Scoring goals, they beat St. Martin 6-0 in the first round. Excellent stuff from them. This guy, Mohamed Rafiq, an attacking midfielder with a hat-trick. But in the second round, it was just a bit too much for them. They did beat Latvia. They also beat Thailand and Dominican Republic. But the other teams were just a little bit too strong. They lost 5-0 against Ukraine. Got Victor Meldrew in charge. Let's go down to Group I. Switzerland won Group I. Czech Republic, USA going through as well. Oman, Armenia and Cape Verde Islands miss out. Liberia squeezed through though as a 7th place team. Group J, Slovakia managed to get the win. In that group, Guadeloupe going through. Bulgaria just about going through in 8th place. I'm not quite sure on the rules. Like some 7th place teams. Have all the 7th place teams gone through? I don't think all of them. No, they haven't. So it must be, 7th and 8th. It's about points, isn't it? How many points you pick up. So because Bulgaria went through in 8th place, only Comoros and Malta miss out. In Group K, Uruguay top the group with only 1 loss. Martinique, Chad, the journey ends here, but they finished above New Zealand, which is a real achievement, I would say. Australia managing to get through from that one. And lastly, Group L, Turkey topped the group ahead of Belgium. Saudi Arabia, a real World Cup nation, are knocked out at the second round stage. Not great from them. Moving on to the third round then. Things are starting to get really interesting now. We're getting rid of some of the smaller nations, but we've still got a few in here, a few shocks that have managed to get through. The top 4 qualify from the third round. Czech Republic easily won their Group A, only losing 1 game. It was very tight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th though. Look at that. All the teams seemed to take points off each other. In the end, Montenegro, Iran and Switzerland squeezed through. Senegal, a strong African nation, knocked out in the third round stage. Switzerland fortunate, really, to go through. I mean, you'd expect them to do a bit better than that. Group B was won by Brazil, but Canada, what a story for Canada. They've gone through to the fourth round. They're having a marvellous time. Slovenia knocked out. I mean, it was, I suppose, an easier group for them, but still very impressive achievement. I mean, it's an impressive achievement that Guadeloupe managed to get to this stage, let's be honest, but unfortunately the third round was too much for them. They did get a draw against Canada, who went through, of course, but they lost the rest of their games. They only lost 2-0 against Brazil, though. That's something to be proud of, I think. In the third round, Spain won their group. Remember that they were knocked out quite early in the first simulation, which was a bit of a shock. I'd expect them to get through to that sixth round this time, where all the elite teams get to. I'd love to see a real surprise in that sixth round, though. Venezuela, Sweden, and Japan sneaked through as well. Group D was won by France. They won every game. 21 points, 100% record. Iceland are knocked out. They did quite well last time. They went quite far. Egypt also knocked out. Instead, Mozambique of all teams go through with Peru and Mexico and France. Group E, Turkey won the group. It was a tight group because no team won more than 3 games. And 12 points, that would only just get you through in some groups. So yeah, that's a very strange group. Turkey, Israel, USA and Uruguay, really shocking performance from them, but they go through. South Korea and Denmark go out. It just shows that was quite an equal group, I suppose, in terms of quality. With Group F, Greece finished ahead of England. Great performance from Greece. England, Cameroon and Tunisia go through. China, who did exceptionally well last time around, are knocked out at the third round stage. And Chile, underperforming there, getting knocked out in 7th place. Group G then was won by Algeria, finishing ahead of Portugal. Great performance from them. Ireland and Scotland knocked out in the third round. Colombia, Russia, Argentina. Argentina down in 3rd place, but they go through, along with Slovakia, Croatia. We've seen some shocks here. And Panama, bottom of this group. They did well to get to this stage compared to previously, but we've seen Croatia and Panama, 2 real World Cup nations, knocked out there, and we've already seen a few others go, haven't we? In Denmark and South Korea. So there's some nations that are getting knocked out early. Belgium easily topped their group. They did lose a game. It wasn't the hardest group for them, to be fair. They go through with Estonia, who did very well to finish 2nd. Nigeria and Bosnia also going through. Costa Rica, another real World Cup nation, getting knocked out at the third round stage. This Group J seems to have... this is a group of death. I mean, Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan bottom of the group, as you would expect from those nations. But Germany, Italy, Holland and Ivory Coast go through. Australia and Serbia, 2 real World Cup nations, knocked out there as well. So we go marching on to the 4th round, which is another group stage. We're down to 4 teams per group, which is essentially like a real World Cup format, but we do have more than the 8 groups we see in real life. In Group A, Colombia go through with Turkey. Japan and Bosnia miss out. Ivory Coast top Group B. Uruguay go out at the expense of Israel. And then in Group C, Germany and Gabon go through with Slovakia and Poland. A real World Cup team getting knocked out bottom of the table. Then in Group D, consisting of 3 World Cup groups and the strong Dutch side, Holland finished bottom. Peru are knocked out. Ukraine and Morocco go marching on. And then France and Cameroon went through from Group P with Czech Republic and the real World Cup squad of Switzerland getting knocked out. Brazil and Mexico through. Spain fall again. They had a very tough group, to be fair, but they've fallen at this, I think it was the 4th round, just like last time, in fact. They've fallen at the 4th round stage, which is a massive shock. You'd expect Spain to go on and possibly win it. But instead, Brazil and Mexico go through, with Canada, who did very well to get to this stage, losing all 3 of their games, but they did score 3 goals, which is quite impressive. Venezuela and Nigeria went through from Group G. I think it really must be quite random how these are decided, unless it is something like if you finish first in Group A from 3rd round, you get pushed into this group with the 8th team that finished. I don't know how it's worked. You can always ask, I suppose, on the Steam Workshop, see if he replies. Group H, Italy and Sweden. Belgium knocked out bottom of Group H. That is a massive shock. They got through to the 6th round last time, but they failed to do so. They failed to get through to the 5th round this time. And Italy and Sweden go marching on with Argentina and England, who finished ahead just of Mozambique. Really unlucky. Really unlucky. Because look, they beat England 1-0 thanks to a goal from Clasio. But that defeat against Argentina, harsh. They just didn't score enough goals against Estonia and England, did they, to go through? And yeah, that's unfortunate from them. And then Group J, Russia, and in fact this can't be down to head-to-head. It must be down to goal difference this round. Russia and Portugal went through from Group J with Montenegro and Iran getting knocked out. So there's a few surprises in the 5th round. Morocco, wow, there are surprises. Morocco beat Argentina to get through to the elite group, Group 6, or the 6th round, let's call it. That's what it's meant to be called. That is where all the big boys are. Last time around, I don't think there were any real shocks in that group. But we're going to see Morocco. We're going to have no Argentina, no Spain, no Belgium in there. Gabon have managed to get through, which is incredible. They weren't even playing Aubameyang. Where's Aubameyang? Why is he not? Is he injured? Why is he not playing? But they didn't need him because they got through against Cameroon anyway. Portugal beat France, so France miss out. I mean, obviously Portugal is a top team, so and they've got Ronaldo, so yeah, he had the opportunity. I think he missed the penalty and put the rebound in. But yeah, great stuff from Portugal to beat France. Brazil beat Ivory Coast 3-1 to go through, so that's not really... We can't see all of them. Not all of the games are saved for some reason. Israel are through. They beat Russia. Israel are through to the 6th round. Sweden beat Turkey. Colombia beat Italy 2-1. So Italy have missed out. They finished 3rd in the 6th round in the first simulation. Germany have beat Nigeria. And Ukraine beat Mexico 3-1. So there's some real shocks in here, actually, in the 6th round. So let's have a look to see who the 2 top teams from the 6th round. They all play each other once. The 2 top teams go through to the final. So let's have a look to see who finished in the top 2. It's Brazil and Portugal. Oh, that's an interesting final, isn't it? Israel, probably as you would expect, finished bottom, but Gabon finished 7th, ahead of England and Morocco. That is excellent. This is such an unusual 6th round because last time we generally saw the favourites for the real World Cup in here, minus Spain, which was a bit of a shock. I think, didn't Brazil get knocked out as well? But yeah, Brazil and Portugal topped the group, ahead of Germany by 1 point. This is fascinating, isn't it? Israel, a bit unfortunate. Well, not unfortunate. They did very well to get to this stage, but unfortunately they finished bottom of the group. Unfortunately for them, anyway. They did actually win their first game against Russia 2-1. And they picked up draws against Gabon and England and Ukraine and Morocco. But tight defeats against everyone else sends them out. England disappointing this time around. They got to the final last time. But unfortunately for them, they had a disappointing 6th round, despite playing against probably weaker opposition than in the first simulation. They did beat Venezuela 2-0. And that was in the 5th round, sorry. They actually only won 1 game in the 6th round. They beat Sweden 2-1 to get through. Well, not to get through, to, I suppose, not finish bottom of the group. That would have been really embarrassing, wouldn't it? If they had finished bottom of the group, that could have been possible if they hadn't won that game, actually. So let's have a look at the final then, to see who managed to win the World Cup. It's Portugal. Portugal defeated Brazil. And it's that man, Cristiano Ronaldo, with 2 penalties, of course, to win the World Cup. Wow. You might see some different sort of players in the teams compared to real life. Remember, it's a long old season. So teams would have used multiple players throughout that season, over 40 games to go on and win the World Cup, I think. If we have a look at Portugal then, this is their team that won the World Cup. I've got the in-game editor installed so you can see the current ability of the players. But, it's a big squad. There's no 23-man rule to this. They might have brought players in and out of the team. Ronaldo's ended up with 179 caps because he's played over 40 games this season. It's pretty ridiculous, really. But let's have a look at their journey. Unbeaten in 2017 in groups round 1 and round 2. They did lose their first 2 games of round 3, but they managed to get through after winning the rest of those games. They won most of their games in round 4 as well. Well, they won 2 and lost 1. In the 5th round, they beat France to get through to the elite group. And they did actually lose their last 2 games, but it was enough to... their last 2 games of the group against Brazil and Sweden, but it was enough to take them through to the final. And they got revenge against Brazil. Excellent stuff from them. Brazil, on the other hand, let's just have a quick look at their fixtures and their teams. So that's the squad for Brazil. Neymar, their best player, of course, has got 107 caps now for his country after this and 75 goals. But let's go back. They did actually lose a couple games in the second round. They lost against France and they lost against South Africa. That was a tough group, though, to be fair to them. Oh, by the way, they won 1 game 14-0 against Anguilla. Absolute thrashing. Then in the 3rd round, they did lose against Canada, which was a massive shock, of course. But other than that, it was quite easy for them. And in the 5th round, they got past Ivory Coast. They lost a couple games in the 6th round, but managed to finish in the top 2 to take on Portugal, where disappointingly they lost the final. So let's have a look at the awards then. Cristiano Ronaldo picks up the Best Player award. He scored 55 goals, got 17 assists in 41 games. Remember, they took on pretty weak opposition in the first couple of rounds, so they were always going to have lots of goals for the top players anyway. Yarmolenko, 2nd place. Really impressive stuff from him. 27 goals, 14 assists. Led Ukraine into that 6th round, which was... they weren't expected to get there at all. Andre Silva, 39 goals, 19 assists. I really like this tournament because it just... it's essentially a football league competition, but with international teams. It's just, it's fascinating stuff. Hope you found this part 2 interesting. I am going to do another one, part 3, for those of you that are interested. And possibly after that, I'll get you guys to let me know which of my 3 saves you want me to holiday into the future, because this thing continues. I think it continues every year. By the way, Golden Boot did go to Ronaldo, 55 goals. Harry Kane 2nd once again with 47 goals, and Guidetti 42 goals in 42 games for Sweden. Great stuff from him. Does seem to be a real goal scorer on Football Manager 2018 actually. Best goalkeeper went to the Brazilian Ederson, 27 clean sheets in 44 goals. He only conceded 23 goals in 44 games. That's pretty impressive. Best young player went to the Swede, Alexander Isak, who got a 7.72 average rating, 27 goals and 17 assists in 34 games for the striker. That's the dream team. 5 Portuguese players in there, 3 German, 1 Swedish, 1 Ukrainian and 1 Brazilian. Ederson in goal. And goal of the tournament, we probably won't be able to see that because it's not saved. But Sharif Mohammed for Afghanistan against Macedonia has got the goal of the tournament. So there we go, guys. That's how part 2 ends. Portugal win the 2nd simulation after Germany won the 1st simulation. Who's going to win the 3rd one then? Tune in very soon to find out. Thank you for watching today's video. Please leave a like if you haven't done so already. Until next time, enjoy FM18. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you very soon.